Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? I wanted to just take a minute and say hello and tell everyone that I appreciate them being here today. Our worldview is a relatively simple one. I'm the founder of the company and have been helping people for almost 15 years see a different angle and edge of the markets. And in particular, we are probably the only company focusing on predictive signals. And at first sounds really weird, right? And I wouldn't believe anything I'm about to tell you either, but for the fact that everything I'm about to show you was published to the World Wide Web 2 days before today's market. So Monday, Tuesday, those of you taking the time signal trial, you had access to all of the predictive moves that I'm going to show you here today. So there's quite literally no sleeves, no place for me to put the cards. I believe markets are predictable. I believe markets are rigged by the largest banks and investment corporations in the world. I believe those banks and corporations own the media conglomerates, the MSNBCs and the CNBCs and the Bloombergs and the Fox businesses. And I think they use those outlets to pull people into the wrong sides of trades, constantly trying to catch up. I believe most every guru and vendor in the world, most of them are well-oiled marketing machines, and they have teams of college students and associates, much like the boiler rooms in The Big Short and The Wolf of Wall Street, and they prey on people who have genuine hopes and dreams for their lives, for their spouses, for their kids, for their charities, for their communities. And if you believe in hell, there's a special place there for those vendors. Many of you have spent collectively here probably over millions of dollars on their stupid tools, which are just regurgitated versions of stuff everybody who's losing uses. But it sure looked good in the website, didn't it? Those are the things I believe, and the burden of proof is sort of on me today to go through why I think you should believe me. The reason that most people don't ever even consider this is the sheer enormity of the data that's available. When you look at it from the surface, it appears to be chaotic. No way we can predict which move is coming where. There's seemingly so much information coming in through Bloomberg and CNBC and Fox Business and all these places and the Wall Street Journal that the impression is the only way you can make an educated decision is have access to all the information. And it's a tremendously large, chaotic, messy world. And so most new traders jam their brains with every available source: news reports, unemployment, GDP, oil inventory, what's going on in Ukraine, who's blowing up which ship full of wheat. Iran has a drone that holds this oil tanker hostage, and we're told that's why the prices are going up and down. And if you don't know everything, Keith, if you can't keep in touch and on top of all of that stuff, you're going to lose. And we don't believe that. Now, how do I prove to you that the markets are predictable? I'm going to use a couple different ways today. We're going to skin the cat from several different dimensions. One of the things I have done one of the things I have done is send out the times that the markets were likely to go up or down in the future for Wednesday, and then for Thursday. So for Thursday, we can look at markets like what was expected for the E-mini S&P. For Thursday, we can look at what was expected for oil, right? Susan says, I looked at oil today. We can go back and see what the software told us we were likely to see for the NASDAQ, for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, all of these things. And if there's any correlation between what was supposed to happen and what has actually happened, boy, oh boy, do you have a problem. Because it means you're using a ladle to dig a 20-foot hole. You're using the wrong tool. You're using a fork as a car jack. They're not suited for the job, these tools that these shifty vendors have sold you. I want to use something really weird first to talk to you about how predictable markets are. And for that, I want to show you a couple signals on this chart. Susan, do you mind if I pick on you as a volunteer from the audience? Would that be all right? Let me know if I can pick on you. Sure. Without knowing where these signals came from, what would you say the price of Apple does when we get near a green dot? And what would you say the price of Apple does when we get near a red dot? Is there anything significant happening here? Or is it kind of useless? I'll give you a little help. Yeah, it tends to go up at the green dots, and it tends to, in an uptrend, either consolidate and drop, or flat out fall, right? Now here's a fun fact about Apple. Every one of the little green dots is a half full moon, known as a first quarter phase. Every one of the little green dots is a half full moon, known as a first quarter phase. Every one of the little red dots is a half empty moon, known as a third quarter phase. Does anyone ever talk about that on CNBC or Fox News? No. So Susan, what's likely to happen if the next red signal is in 7 hours and 54 minutes? If the next little red signal, according to this program, is in 7 hours and 54 minutes, what might we be watching for? Consolidation or a drop? You think it's any coincidence that we just pulled into that area right there? Yeah. And so this works on different tech markets too, right? Like we can Look at the big meme stops like Nvidia. And now when we look at these signals, we have a pretty amazing problem, because inside of your webinar handout section is a book. And that book goes a little bit deeper, and it says, hey, every once in a while, if you get to a selling signal, or I'm sorry, a buying signal, and Susan, if we arrive at a buying pressure signal and it's at a brand new high, what is likely to happen according to this book that I've handed out for 10 years? If we get to a brand new high on a date or a time that it's likely to go down, it's likely to pull back, right? So over here, I'm going to put a red arrow on top of that signal. Okay. Now, we're going to go back into the book. What happens when the selling pressure signal, either the candle to the left, the signal of, or the candle to the right, breaks a brand new structural low? That's right, it goes up. So let me show you something. Using the moon half full and half empty. And it's going to feel weird to some of you, but stay with me, I promise. And a book that I've been publishing in every webinar for 10 years. Prior swing low, candle number 1, candle number 2, candle number 3. Candle number 3 is a brand new low, And guess what we get to put under that, Susan? A green arrow. And so using the phase of the moon in the most popular traded stock right now, we know that there was a pattern 4 here. Whoops, excuse me. Isn't this kind of bananas, guys? This is my world, by the way. There's a pattern 4 right here. There's a pattern 5 right here. There's a pattern 2, which is a regular selling signal, and then a pattern 1. Hey, Dorian, if you want to send me some of that Apex money, I can hire someone to help me when you're not flying all over the world with your airline tickets. I'm running a big thing over here, and I get to things when I get a chance, so thank you for your patience. Susan, what do you think of that? Because it looks to me like the price of one of the most liquid stocks by volume went down here because the moon was half empty, went up here because the moon was half full. It went up here because it was an oversold inverted signal, and it went down here because it was an overbought inverted buy signal. And in 7 hours and 49 minutes, on the close of this candle, there's going to be another little red dot. And if I were the banks, I would poke right above this in early hours trading and see if I can't sucker people into a higher high to buy and then reverse the stops and drive it down. That's one example. Here's another weird one with those same patterns on top. You guys know where these signals come from? This is Tesla, by the way. Tesla, Elon Musk blowing up rockets, turning off the satellites in Ukraine because he loves him some Putin. Making babies with any woman who'll stop long enough in the Twitter office, sorry, X office, long enough to do it, naming his kids with all consonants and no vowels. This is Tesla. There's no way to predict when Tesla is going up or down, is there? Well, if we use that same orbiting thing, here's the Earth, and the moon goes around the Earth in an elliptical orbit. Fun fact, when the moon is as far away from the Earth as it can be, and as close as it can be, these are called apogee and perigee events. And Susan, guess where the signals for Tesla come from on my chart? What would you say if I told you that the green and red signals on the price of Tesla are coming from the dates of those orbital apexes? And what would you tell me if I said we can use those same pattern 5s and pattern 4s from the book to translate what's happening in real time? Down on 622, down on 7.5, down on 7.19, up at 7.20, down on 8.2, up at 8.16, down on 8.30, breakout above the wedge, pattern 5, down on 9.11 until 9.27, up from 9.27 until 10.9, which is 4 days from now, all based on where this little hunk of rock that every third world country is trying to send a rover to right now, Russia, India, China, we will send to dark side of moon. And it's like, all right, we're going to the moon, I guess. But here's the weirdest part. Number one, I've already told you where the dates come from. So Gary, you can go out on Google and look them up. Apogee, perigee dates. Matter of fact, here. Here's the dates for the rest of the year. It's all here. Susan, check this out. Here are the dates for next year. Here are the dates for 3 years from now. So on May 4th, 2026, the price of Tesla will have the reaction we're expecting. You know what to expect in the future, right? So the software we're talking about today isn't really any different, but it's based on a slightly less ethereal concept. We're not looking up at the sky and going, oh, I wonder what the moon will do tonight. Ah, no. We're looking up at historical data. So this chart is TachEon Warp. It's the product that you guys are here to look at and talk about. And so because time is the most important factor in trading, trading is literally guessing, estimating where will prices be in the future. They call them futures. Hey, Bill, what do we call these things? I don't know, call them futures, I guess, because it's like the future stuff, right? Yeah. Bill, how come everyone's using lagging indicators if they're futures? I don't know. People are idiots, Bill. Okay. So the last two signals on NVIDIA were a sell signal on September 14th and a buy signal on September 21st. The price of NVIDIA was $409 and a little change, and it's presently gotten up to $451. It's gone up $40, which is about a 10% gain. And we're not done yet. October 17th is the next sell signal. If we leverage this information on Bitcoin, there's no way to know what Bitcoin's going to do, right? FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Kevin O'Leary, Shark Tank. It's a wild west. There's no way to know when the moves are coming up and going down. I have been posting every one of these dates in advance for months in every cryptocurrency Facebook group that will let me join. Every single time I'm mocked. Every single time I'm mocked. You're crazy. You didn't read the crypto journal. You're not following the guru who knows everything. And I just sit there and I laugh and I tell them up on August 19th, down on September 8th, August 28th, up on September 23rd, 13th, down on September 28th. The next buy signal is October 19th. I can't wait. I can't wait. And we have the same thing, Susan, on the daily chart. There's a pattern 5, just like our full moon chart. And just like our full moon chart on the E-mini S&P and the same signal on Tesla, it drops like a rock from a pattern 5. Looking at SPY, boy, things start to get a little scarier here, don't they? I've been posting SPY into a stocks and options group now for several months, where I am again mocked and criticized. Go take your chicken bones somewhere else, they said. But I called the drop on August 2nd. I called the push on August 21st, the drop on September 13th, and then I told people it was going up on the 21st. And when it bounced here, Susan and I reminded them that it bounced over here and that we weren't going down. We were going to push up off of the stop line into the next sell signal, where I warned all of them it was going to drop on October 2nd. The difference is this chart uses historical data. This chart isn't staring up at the moon, it's staring back into the history of the market. I've also been posting the times into the Euro US dollar groups, the forex trading groups. Some of you still trade forex. And using the same default values that I'm going to show you our intraday signals working with, I told 80,000 forex traders that the euro would drop from September 13th until October 5th. I told them how far down it would go. Do you want to know how far down I knew it would go, Susan? Watch this. I can go back and measure every single move from selling to buying that the euro did top to bottom leading up to that move. You guys see what I just did there? I measured the last 4 moves. And then Dorian, I took those signals and I placed them at the high of the existing euro sell signal. And I told everyone in the group that we are going down from here to here, target 1, and then from here to here, target 2, before October 5th. How would I know how far the euro is likely to go up? Well, we can do the same thing, can't we? We can measure how far up did it go the last several times the market was pushed up. I can measure how far it consolidated at each of those points and bring all that information here to see that the euro is likely to go to here or here before here, and definitely the top of this box. But all of this is in the future. All of this is in the future. This chart will blow your mind. Dorian says, which signals work better on which market? Try them on both. Try them on both. What do you guys think of the signals on oil futures on the daily chart? Joe, Jim, Jason, what do you think? Charlie, what do you think? These are literally the full and new moons on the most random market in the world. The most random market in the world. I missed two patterns here. There's a 5 here, and there's an 8 here. I'll tell you what an 8 is in a second. Susan, this was a pattern 5 full moon. It's the highest high. It's a 2-bar reversal pattern. What's going on? It did the same thing that it did over here, that it did over here, that it did over here. There's a language of timing signals that people aren't paying attention to. All right, I won't even teach you the pattern 8. We don't have too much time today. But if I load the oil signals on a 60-minute chart, Susan, there's a pattern 5 right here. And now, as we look forward into the future using the historical data, can everybody see that the upcoming times are there? 3 o'clock this afternoon is a buying pressure signal. What is it going to do? It's probably going to consolidate. How big of a consolidation zone is it usually? It's about that. There's a good chance it'll continue to fall and go through the stop line where we will be sellers. And then 9 o'clock tomorrow when oil opens up, it's either going to be a pattern 2, a regular sell signal, or a pattern 4, an inverted sell signal that goes up all the way till 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Same thing on bonds. If you're a bonds trader, I have the data here for you. I'm using a 2-4 look back with a swing strength of 11. So if you're following along and you're a bonds trader, look at a 2400 with a swing strength 11 in trading days. And you'll see, Susan, that bonds aren't very unpredictable either, are they? 7 o'clock this morning was the signal and the market moved down, but here's the disconcerting part. It only moved down a little. So look at this chart with me and see what you can understand about banks and what they're thinking. Susan, that move was here. That move was here. This is a pattern 4 and it went up. This is a pattern 2 and it went down. This was a pattern 4, but it went down through the pattern 4. Now, if I take all these signals and I put them over here, what does it tell me about the institutional intentions tonight? Anybody? There seems to be, between tomorrow morning a little bit of heat map tonight. The risk on this seems pretty small in regard to the potential drop. It looks like 5-1 right now. But this is based entirely on a prediction. These signals were based entirely on something that was known in the future. So Susan, look, October 8th, October 9th, October 10th, October 11th. That's 4 days in the future, right? So how much notice did we have for these signals? At the very least, Eric, how many days in the future did we know those signals were coming? Everybody say 4 days. Huh. So we knew this push up was coming 4 days in the future? Uh-huh. You knew this signal was coming 4 days in the future? Uh-huh. Let's look at the NASDAQ on the daily chart. How far in the future did we see the daily signals on the NQ? November, December, January, February. How far in advance did we know when these moves in the NASDAQ were coming? If the signals don't repaint, Jack, how far in the future did we know when those buying and selling signals were coming? Everybody say at least 4 months. How is this happening? How is this working? Well, it stems all the way back to the very first financier. This guy. This guy knew how predictable markets were and how stupid most people are. I'm not inferring that any of you good people here today are inadequately intelligent. I'm just saying that most people are gullible and believe silly things. And so the richest man in the United States, arguably at that point, possibly the world, aside from the sheiks and some sovereigns, was crushing it, was buying railroads, was building mansion after mansion after mansion, looking at the same ridiculous stuff that you and I were looking at. Only he was looking at the Union Pacific Railroad stock, doing the same thing. It's not just those things too, because it's cryptocurrency as well. Here's Ethereum on a 60-minute chart. And Gary, do you see the signals for Ethereum to the right for October 6th and 7th down below? How far in the future do we know what JP Morgan's plan is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 7 days. Does Ethereum look very random to you? No. Any questions about this so far? Here's the full moon, new moon stuff on the E-mini S&P, by the way. I had another ES chart that I wanted to show you guys. Oh, here's the ES daily chart that I've been keeping track of. It's buying pressure until October 9th. The bottom isn't even close. This is a consolidation phase right here. These are stop runs. These are people going after stops over and over and over again inside of a range until we get to October 9th. Ken, intraday is really tough with the moon intraday, right? That's one of the reasons why we're looking at blue and white versus red and green. It's hard to trade a 1-minute NASDAQ chart when there's a full moon. I can show you a technique. It's tricky though. It'd probably take me about 4 hours to teach you how to do it, but you could do it. But I'll show you how we can look at something like the NASDAQ intraday. So Ken, these are one of the charts that I've been posting into the E-mini S&P group in advance. You'll see the next signal coming is at 9 o'clock tonight, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, into 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. These are all the signals I've been posting into that Facebook group for the E-mini S&P users. We had a pattern 5 at midnight last night. We had a pattern 4 at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And if you compare that to the signals in the book, look at what a pattern 4 usually does. This is a 1-minute NASDAQ chart from 2016. This is a 60-minute E-mini S&P chart from lunchtime today. At midnight, we had a pattern 5. This is a book from 2016, and it's doing the same thing on a 1-minute NASDAQ chart that it is on a 60-minute E-mini S&P chart that I pasted into 7 E-mini S&P trading groups. Is it still working? Yeah. It seems as though we've tapped into something banks don't want us to see. Because Ken, to answer Bala's question, well, what about NFP? What about GDP? What about the LMNOP? How about QRSTUV? Bala, can you tell me on here when any of those reports came out? And if it affected when the signal was coming? If we knew about these signals a week in advance? Let's take a look at more relevant examples, shall we? We can take a look at oil. That's one Susan says she trades. These are the signals today from oil that I gave you on Tuesday for today. So Ken, lean forward. This is your moment. These signals for oil on the 3-minute chart were published on Tuesday. Do you understand that? Does everyone understand that? Because your brain won't let you accept it. See, here's the critical point in the webinar. Every person who doesn't have the software right now is explaining it away. There's no way this can work. If it's so good, why isn't this guy a millionaire? Why is he sharing it? And everyone is glossing over the fact that this was published to the World Wide Web, servers all over the world with time codes that were irreversible. We can look and validate. Computer engineer audits can tell us this conglomeration of pixels remained on the web unaltered since Tuesday. What didn't we know on Tuesday about oil? What report was coming up Wednesday and Thursday for oil? Anybody? Bala, what didn't we know about oil? That's right. The inventory. How much do we have? How much is in there? We didn't know. Is it going to be over, under, the same? And the software was telling us every one of these blue lines, Susan, can be a 2 or a 4. Every one of these signals can be a 2 or a 4. Every one of these signals can be a 1 or a 5. And we had all that information in advance. The day after the inventory report, surely the market is absorbing that and we're making new calculations and all sorts of highs and lows and blah, 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 blah. Well, if I just compare, I want you to see that I'm not changing anything. 745, Susan, you see that buy signal from Tuesday? That matches my chart right here. Susan, you see the 7 a.m. signal right here? That matches my chart right there, doesn't it? So it's the same chart. This one and this one are the same. Hey, Gary, what happens if we arrive at a selling pressure signal and it breaks the prior swing of the former structural low? Bala, what happens if we arrive at a selling pressure signal and either candle 1, candle 2, or candle 3 are lower historical lows? I'm going to make it easier to see this in a second. But boy, that sure looks a lot like a pattern 4. It's a long signal. Huh. Wait, you're telling me that some guy gave us a signal 2 days before the most volatile market? Bala, what's that number right here? I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about that for a second, especially when we look at all of them in concert together. And here's where every one of you who don't own the software makes a choice. Every non-customer here today is making a choice to believe this or not believe it. You're willfully giving yourself messages right now. You're either seeing this as the thing that you've been looking for, or you're talking yourself out of it. Those conversations are fun. We don't want to get another trading system. You do this all the time. You get really excited about a new thing. You never follow through. These guys never answer the phone when you call. We swore we'd never buy another system. Hundreds of voices flood into your mind when your brain goes, holy crap, we're going to be successful. No, 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 we don't want that. We like it when we lose. When we take a quick look, the psychology of traders, I've had more fun with that than I have with the actual engineering. Down at 8:57, up at 7:45, up at 7 o'clock, up at 6:27, down at 6:03. This is before oil even opens. Ready? Let's keep track. Let's keep track, shall we? Short from here to here. That's $64 or $640, 64 ticks. Long from here to here. Uh-oh, that's a 24 tick loss, minus 240. Long from 7 o'clock until 7:45. That's a 41 tick winner. We got it back and then some. Long from 7:45 until 8:57. Ready? Plus 60, plus 40, 100, plus 80, 180, minus 20 is $1,600. The 3 signals before oil ever opens. Well, we could have sold it right before the opening and logged how much more? Another $600. There's $2,200. What if we bought it at 9:48 and we held it until the 10:12 signal? It would be another $82. Now you're well into the $2,000, $3,000 range. So how does this work if we didn't know what the value of the oil inventories was going to be? Somebody knew. Somebody who has the power to move the markets knew. Well, what about yesterday? That's when the report came out. Why aren't you showing us yesterday? Oh, I'll show you yesterday. Short, right after the open, 9:09 to 9:54, 90 ticks. Short from 9:54 until 10:42, 40 ticks. Short from 11:27 until 11:57, 80 ticks. 80 plus 40 is $120, $1,200 plus 90 is $2,100. Counter trend signal, pattern 4. Let's try it. Long from here to here, $30. Short from 1245 until 134. There's another $1,200. But Bala, this is the oil inventory. Oh, let's include the stop out right there, minus 36. So there's $3,000 here, there's $3,000 here. And then the signals in the afternoon, with the exception of the lunchtime, 12:24, it goes up at 11:33, it goes up at 11:57, it goes up at 1:18, it goes down at 1:54, and then kind of trickles up here at 2:45 when oil closes and slows down. If what I'm telling you isn't true, then how are we doing what we're doing? If what I'm showing you isn't real, then how is what I gave you 2 days ago relevant 48 hours in the future? Why are you not climbing over your desk to your wallets right now and begging me for a purchase link? Because traders don't trust the truth. We've been conditioned to the guru, $95 indicator, the free trial. Where's your free trial? I don't know what to do. You don't have a free trial. How will I waste everyone's time for 6 months using things that don't work? There it is. 150 years ago, one of the most famous traders in the history of trading said this: if you look for the time periods, you're going to learn why tops and bottoms are found at certain times. He goes out of his way to make this point. He says, listen, time is the most important factor of all. If you study the historical records of any market, you'll be able to prove for yourself that history repeats, and that by going the past, you can tell the future. And they hated him for this. They hated Can, because he was right all the time. He argued with other gurus too. He was nuts when people were watching volume and structure and all the latest fads of his day. Time is the most important factor of all, not volume, not price action, not market delta, not TPO charts, not the flavor of the day, not next gen fib with wrinkle bars and projections and some guy giving you 500 signals every morning. Time. And they hated him for it because he was always right. Most of the time, he was right. Any questions? Because it happened on the pound dollar today. I gave you guys the signals for the pound dollar. And if we come in and we add this extra new feature that puts the patterns on top, look for the pattern 4s. Look for the pattern 5s. 455 this morning when the London market opened, we had as low a risk a trade as possible for a long. We had another pattern 4 here at 8:35 this morning. This is the pound dollar on a 5-minute chart. This is yesterday in the pound dollar. Look, half the time it's the high or the low. Well, what market time frame works best? Put it on a 15, it still works. Put it on a 30, it still works. Whatever time frame you trade, analyze it on that time frame. And we're the only company in the world that has the signals in the future. But I don't want to know the future because then it'll spoil the surprise for me. How can I complain to my wife or my husband that this is really hard and I just need more time? What'll I do if I'm not banging my fists on the desk when I blow out my Apex account again and again and again? and I have to replenish my account again. What'll I do? You're going to take away my favorite activities. Same thing with Ethereum. We can look at a 60-minute, we can look at a daily, we can go all the way down to a 5-minute chart. And it's the same thing. Day after day after day. Ethereum is predictable. Every cryptocurrency is predictable. Dogecoin, XRP, go down the list over and over and over again on the smallest time frames up to the larger and the largest time frames. And there's a plan. It's right here. Well, what'll I do if I know all that stuff? You mean I can't overtrade anymore? What am I going to do if I can only take 6 trades tomorrow? You know how frustrating that is when I can't revenge trade and make my brokerage rich? Yeah, I know. Here were the signals on the E-mini S&P today. Was the E-mini S&P random? Who can spot the pattern 5 before I turn the filter on? There are 2 pattern 5s on my chart that I can see right now. Before I turn this indicator on, I actually see 3. Can anyone else see them? Let's use the 7-year-old book. Boing. What did we know to look for at 8:10? What did we know to look for at 10:15? What did we know to look for at 1:40 and 2:40? Huh. Well, how do you trade a pattern 4 or a pattern 5? Well, it's in that same book that I gave you. Ready? There's 2 ways to trade them. And then we'll start winding down. In the book, it says, hey, if you're a trend trader with a pattern 4, we look for what's called a trend continuation. What does the book say to do that you had last week? Use a breakout threshold below the lowest low of the 3-candle series. I recommend at least a 2-tick gap, to use as a trend continuation level. So the software is telling us, the book is saying, hey, of the 3 candles, find which one of them is the lowest low. It's here. 2 ticks below the lowest low, we go short. We put a stop 2 ticks above the candle that goes through that pattern 4 low. You with me? Boy, this is a 6-7-year-old book. What did the ES do 7 years later on the signals I gave you 2 days ago? It came down, it went up, and it dropped. It came down. It went up, and it dropped. Can everyone see that it looks like the number 4? Fun fact. You learned something new today. Now, we could also have scalped it. So there's 2 trades available to us. If you're a bottom feeder, you could have bought it here and it went up $350. Gary, you could have also sold the pattern 5 with a stop just above the high and it went down $900. But the one thing we couldn't do with this pattern 5 was trade a breakout above, because it never came above. But all told, this is what I told over 18,000 people on our mailing list the E-mini S&P would do today. Doug says it's like the Bible codes. Coincidentally, this guy wrote a book, I think it was called Tunnels in the Air. And Doug, he's trying to explain how the time stuff works. Gann was a child of Texas. He grew up on a farm with his family, had a bunch of sisters and brothers. And his mother and father were fundamental Christians in Lufkin, Texas. And in his book, Tunnels in the Air, Tunnels Through the Air, forgive me for forgetting, he wrote, his main character said, everything a trader needs to be profitable is in the Bible. He believed that this was a code of sorts. He believed that time was a manifestation of some divine order. And if you studied it, you could know what markets were going to do in the future. I don't like to talk about that because most vendors who tell you that they're this or that are trying to get you to buy because they want you to believe they believe the same stuff you believe. Oh, we go to the same churches. You should buy our software. I want you to buy it because you saw what I told you was going to happen, and it actually happened. Here's the NASDAQ 1-minute chart this morning, and I'm going to stop here. Every single time on this chart was a time that the software warned us in the future 2 days ago that they were going to push the NASDAQ up and down. No drawings. I want you to just look at it because you had the signals 2 days ago. They're here. Go back. Pause the video when it's uploaded tonight. Go back and scroll down and you will see NQ 1 minute, the beast, the face ripper. The face ripper offer. Like Bounty is the quicker picker upper, the NASDAQ is the face ripper offer. Surely there's no way to predict when that market is going to go up or down. But Susan, what happened? Keith, what happened? And just so you know, we're using the default values that I use every week. I didn't optimize these or curve fit them. These are 15-year-old settings. Now watch this quote to show you that the system is based on something that will not ever change. They interviewed Gann back in 1909. William Gann interview, an operator whose science and ability place him in the front rank, his remarkable predictions and trading records. They follow him. They enlist the help of someone to watch him. In order to substantiate his claims, we called upon William Gilly, Inspector of Imports. He's well known in the district. It was he who encouraged Gann to study the science. This is what he saw. Now, Keith, watch. I want you to read one quote. This is the one I want you to see, and I want you to compare it to what took place on the NASDAQ. And then we're going to stop here. We have seen Gann in one day give 16 successive predictions in the same market. 8 of which turned out to be either the top or bottom of the swing. Keith, listen. Out of 16 estimates, 8 of them turned out to be the exact swing high or low. Bala, do you hear what I'm saying here? This is 150 years ago. This is a guy who's teaching people the same thing I'm teaching you. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have a Pentium 9 computer like the one I'm running with a NVIDIA GTX top-of-the-line graphics processor. He's got a pencil and a piece of paper. There are no digital watches. And they said, listen, of the 16 things he said would happen, 8 turned out to be the swing high or the swing low. Watch. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I really want to put one at 8:30, but I'm not gonna. Maybe we'll just leave it here with a little notation. 7:17 is off by 2 minutes. 150 years ago, the guy who said what? Time is the most important factor of all. How do we get the signals, Mr. Gann? Study them. If you study the time periods and time cycles, you're going to learn that the past becomes the future. I don't believe you. Well, I had a guy watch me, and one day half of my signals were the exact high or low. How should we believe the person who says he's doing what you were doing? He should be able to tell you in the future when the signals are coming, and half of the time those signals should be the exact high or low. That's how you'll know if he's my disciple. Tomorrow, 30 million traders in the United States will wake up. They will believe that they are smart enough to beat the likes of JP Morgan, who's paid billions of dollars in fines for trading manipulation. Tomorrow morning, 30 million traders will wake up and think, because I have a super fast trading computer, I will beat the market. Tomorrow afternoon, 30 million traders will wonder if they can get to the mailbox in time before their spouse sees their P&L report. 30 million traders this weekend will go to a pawn store or a car lot or reconsolidate their debt because they're just one layer of the onion away from putting it all together. Every week, without fail, someone will say, Michael, I'm going to sign up on Monday. And then over the weekend, in early trading hours, Sunday, Monday, they'll place one horrific trade and lose it all. Happens every week. Humans are the most self-destructive, self-flatulating people I've ever met. And we all do it. You don't have a chance. The odds of you becoming a profitable trader are worse than the odds of becoming a brain surgeon or an Army Ranger. You have a better chance of becoming an Army Ranger, Special Forces. No disrespect to them. If you've served, thank you, but you get the point. You could study, you could exercise, you could eat right. And most of you will leave here without the program because you secretly love the failure of it all. Self-sabotaging, despite everything I've shown you here today. But some of you want to be disciples and apostles too. Some of you have said, I don't know what his problem is. This is clearly working and I want to be part of your team. I and everyone here at this company are for you. We are for you. That means we believe you can do this. We've seen enough people do it that we know it can be done. They're beating the odds. Some of you are here today. Susan said, I'm doing great. Dorian's here. He's crushing it. Dorian, I'm not going to show your account numbers today. Don't worry. I won't show them to people anymore. As a matter of fact, I deleted all of your numbers. I covered them up with boxes to show people how much money you were making. It was insane. I'm so sorry about that. We are for you. I'm on your team. I want you to be the best trader if this is what you want for yourself. I want you to support your kids. I want you to surprise your wife or spouse with a trip to Italy or Spain. I want you to buy that RV and go around the country. I want you to support the orphans in China and your local community charities. I want all those things for you, but it has to start with a decision. Are you going to keep doing what you've been doing? Or will you recognize that today you saw something impossible happen? And for whatever reason, the universe coordinated this meeting between you and I, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're here live, you are here right now because this is what you were supposed to see. The thing you were asking for is now sitting just above the left mouse button of your mouse. You're one click away. You're one click away. And that's the hardest click. So on the website, the program that we're talking about is called TachEon Warp. In our store, it is the flagship product. It is where everyone starts and stops, and everything I've shown you here today that was blue and white was a Warp program. I'm going to left click and copy this link and paste it into your GoToWebinar chat box. And you will see TachEon TimeWarp. If you click on that, it will take you to the bottom of this page where you will see a giant Willy Wonka orange button that says buy now. You're almost there. Don't look at this price. It's not the real price. When you click on the orange button, you'll see an option to participate in a live trading room. That room is run either by my partner and best friend who's traded with me for 15 years or by a customer that we enlisted to come show what he does. Colin, many of you know him. Colin is a net profitable customer. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every week from 8 to 12, live signals are shown, and you can add that to your cart for just $149 a month. It's normally $200 when people buy it separately. If you don't need that, you don't want your handheld, you don't want to shadow trade somebody, don't get it. It's there for people who want it. Yeah, they do pretty good, Susan. Purchase agreement. Now here's where you can enter a promo code, W, lowercase, W, WARPOFF, and hit apply. It takes $500 off the price. WARPOFF. WARPOFF. Warp off takes $500 off the price. This comes with free updates for life. 1, it comes with free white glove installation if you want it. 2, comes with 2 computer licenses For Ninjatrader, one computer is your desktop, one is your laptop, no worries. It is a transferable purchase. You can leave it in a will to somebody and we'll train them from scratch in the uneventful death, uneventful situation. You know what I'm trying to say. You get the promo code. You're also getting a piece of software that is consistently rated between 4 and 5 stars by actual customers. Susan, can you do me a favor? Can you go on here and post a review for me? I'm gonna send you a link. That would make my day. I love that. But you can get a real good sense of what people who've been through the Rubicon before you have experienced. These are actual customers with actual receipts. No one who's posted here ever is deleted. Trustpilot doesn't let me delete reviews. Also, I'm incapable of posting spam reviews. Everyone here is essentially verified as a customer. And they all kind of say the same thing. Hey, I sat in that webinar without you. I feel naked whenever I look at a chart without the predictive times. Wonderful, passionate education, best software experience. You have found the best tools. The missing factor that made my trading more confident and effective. Big Earl. I love that guy. Earl just bought me a motorcycle. I'm watching the driveway this weekend. I gave him the model number a couple days ago. That's how you get started. And if you get a phone call or an email from a guy named David, he's with the company, David at backtothefuturetrading.com. He helps customers onboard and find ways to do things. If you need a payment plan, you're going to pay a little extra over the long haul, but he'll find a way to help you get started with something like that. So if he calls you or emails you after the webinar, please, he's my representative acting on my behalf. It would mean a lot to me if you talk to him and figure out what the next steps are for you. Earl, tell my wife to tape it so you can see me crying like a little girl. I love you, man. Listen to me. I should probably show this slide at the beginning because it says when the webinar is going to start. I come here and I promise to only tell you the truth. I don't want to ever lie to you. I don't want to ever do what everybody else does. I'm going to show you a picture. This is my mom. She went home. She was 58 years old, died from lung cancer. And she was at my Eagle Scout ceremony. And that's who you're talking to right now. This is me. I raised a son who's an Eagle Scout. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. I've been taught my whole life not to lie. And this is the one place, this is church for me. When I show you these things, I want you to understand that I got to get it right. I got to make sure that what I'm telling you is real and it's true. I don't want you to have false hopes. I'm not going to lie to you like the other guys did. I'm not going to put a Jesus fish on my website in the hopes that I can snooker another one in. I can tell you what's going to happen before it happens, and when it happens, I want you to believe me. When the highs and lows are there at least half the time, I want you to remember somebody else did this. And he told you, if anybody else can, to believe them. And if you don't, I got nothing for you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine upon your glorious faces. May the valleys rise up to meet you. May the mountains lay low before you as you go forward this day. I wish you peace. I wish you fellowship, long lives, right? Whatever virus that Pfizer has in store for us around the corner, hang in there. I wish you prosperity for all your dreams and the things that you hope for and you want to do. It would be an honor to be a part of that. And if not, it's fine. We got to hang out together, spend some time together, and thank you for your company. You everyone have a great weekend. I'll see you soon. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel. We're now publishing regularly updates, forecasts, results on Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Our video recording for today will be available on our YouTube channel. If you want to head over there and subscribe, leave a comment in the videos. I do go through and answer questions, and you'll be able to learn all sorts of fun stuff and keep up to date with the latest big forecasts. So that's there for you as well. I'm publishing every day to our Facebook account, Back to the Future Trading, right here. And that big ugly guy there is me. And so that's another way you can join us, also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. So please, if you're a customer, get on over there. Also, if you join, you will be part of a Facebook group. I'm sorry, a Skype group. We have right now in there 153 people that are sharing their trades and their results with each other, what they're doing, how they're using the software. So if you're a customer and you want to be part of that Skype group, let me know or Rachel know, and we'll put you in there so you can start interacting with all the other customers and getting a feel for what they're doing, what settings they're using, and how they're trading. So there is a community that I forgot to mention. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night. I love you all. Customers that have already bought, you know how I feel about you. Yo, Earl. And I'll see you here next Thursday. If you're a customer and you need some help, feel free to reach out to me or Ron or Rachel or Charlie or David, and let us know what we can do to help support you and get you on your way. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. I love you too. Bye-bye.